Hi guys, good morning. I hope all of you are doing very well today. The topic for today's session is approval smart shape. Okay, so in today's session, I'm going to explain how does approve or reject smart shape or automation shape works in Pega. Okay, so this is going to be the topic for today's session. So the use case is very simple. Let's log into the application and let's get started. Okay, so I have my Pega application over here. I have my Dev Studio. So let's log in. Let me switch. Okay, so I already have a case type, which is recruitment. So what we are going to do is we are going to configure this particular stage, which is the HR review stage, and we are going to add a approve or reject smart shape. So let's assume that the user will log into the application. They will launch this recruitment case type. Then they enter their details. Like basically, they will register for one of the jobs, and then in this particular stage, and then their application will be forwarded to a person from HR team who will basically screen the application, and then either they will approve or reject it. Okay, so that's the use case. So it's really a very simple use case. For now, let me just create and show you what is the current state of this case type. Okay, so we have this screen wherein user will enter their details. So let me just give some random inputs for now. They will come down and they will see that let's take Pega is the domain. Once they do this, so all the jobs get filtered based on the selected domain. Then they will pick one of the jobs. Let's say that I, as a user, I'm interested in the first one, which is the role system architect, experience 3 years, and it's a permanent job. So once I fill in my details, I select the relevant job for which I want to apply. Then I hit the submit button. So at this point, this particular case needs to get routed to somebody from the HR team who would do the initial level of screening, and then they will either approve or reject this particular application. Okay, so that's the use case. I hope it's clear. So how do we do that? So for that, let's come to the case type, case designer. So in Pega, there is something called, there is a smart shape that Pega gives us, which is this, which is approve or reject. Okay, so we are going to use this. So let me include this, and let's try to focus on, what are the different types of approvals in Pega. So I will try to explain a bit a theory about it first, and then we will implement it. Okay. So approval in Pega can be of two different types. It can be either a single level approval or it can be cascading level approval. So the difference between these two is in single level approval, the case will get routed to one single user. Okay. Now that single user can be a specific user. So for example, if you see my screen, so here we have selected the approval flow type as single level. So there are multiple options in this also. So for example, it can be a specific user. So if you have a requirement wherein, you need to route the case for approval to one particular operator ID or one particular user, which you already know beforehand, then you use this option, route to specific user, and you provide the user ID. Okay. If you don't know the specific user, and if you have a requirement wherein, the case needs to go to a particular work basket or work queue, and then somebody who is available can pick that case from the work queue and work on it, like either approve or reject it, then you choose the second option, which is this one. So here, what you have to enter is you have to give a work queue or work basket name. So let us assume that this particular this particular case is going to HR team for review. So you can have a work basket for HR team members, and then you can give that work basket name over here. So that is about the route to work queue. There is a third option as well under a single level of approvals, which is use business logic. So once you do this, right, and then you see a small gear icon. So when you click on this, so there will be a pop-up that comes up. So in this case, if you have a conditional logic to decide which particular user will approve or reject this particular case, right? So then you select this option. So for example, how it works is route to so-and-so operator when this condition becomes true. For example, here you can have these options wherein you can select, let's take an example, create date time. So if create date time is before a certain date, for example, all the cases that are created before 15th of Feb, that needs to be routed to this particular operator. Let's take an example, okay? So all the cases that have create date time before 15th of Feb will be routed to operator this, Otherwise, like remaining cases will be routed to operator this. Okay. So this is how this particular business logic works. So if you have a conditional logic to decide the person who will approve or reject your case, then you select this particular option. Okay. So I'll just cancel it for now. So these are the three different routing types under the single level of approval. So I will repeat again, specific user is wherein you know the operator ID of the user and you just enter that over here. So then the case will be directly routed to this particular user. Second one is work queue, wherein you give a work basket. The case will get routed to the work basket, and all the members who have access to that work basket, any one of those can pick and proceed the case. Okay. The third one is the business logic. So if you want to decide conditionally based on certain criteria, like who will be the approver for this particular case, then you go with this option. So this is about a single level approval. Now there is the second type, cascading approval. So what happens in cascading approval? So let's choose this. So cascading approval basically is if you want the approval to happen for more than one users, right? So for example, let's say that I have a requirement wherein I all the cases needs to go to a series of approval, wherein it first goes, let's say, to the HR person, and then it needs to go to the manager also maybe. So if you have a series of approvals needed on a certain case, then you select this option, cascading approval. So in this cascading approval also, there are two different varieties or flavors. So one is a reporting structure. So let's talk about it. What is this reporting structure? So if you want to know that I as an operator, who am I reporting to? So how do we see that? So for that, you can go to the operator ID from here. And on the operator ID, if you go to the work tab, so you see there is something called reports to. So here I can give any operator ID. So this autocomplete basically takes operator ID. So whatever you configure, whichever operator you configure over here, right? So that would be your reports to person. Okay. So like, for example, in our job, in our office, we have folks that we are reporting to, right? So similarly in Pega, if you want to set the reporting operator of a particular user, so this is how you do. So on the operator ID record, on the work tab, you can decide who this particular operator is reporting to. Okay, if you want to see the examples, you can click on this reporting structure. And for example, if you take this this guy, right? This is some OOTB operator. If you take this guy and if you go to the work tab, so this guy, which is an Agile Studio lead architect, it is reporting to the project manager. Project manager is another operator ID in the system. If I open this, right, you'll be able to see this is another operator. So this is how reporting structure works. So now coming back to our case type. So when you want to send this case to the reporting person of the user who has raised the application, then you select this reporting structure as the option. Okay, here also you can either give the reporting manager or you can give the work group manager. So in work group also, if you open the work group record, right, if you go to organization, if you go to work group, so work group is what? Work group is basically a team setup wherein n number of operators or n number of users will work, can pick the work from the work group, and every work group will have a manager. Okay, so this is what is meant by the work group manager. So the operator ID that you define on the work group record over here will be acting as the work group manager or the team manager. Okay, so if you have a requirement to send this case to the reporting manager or the work group manager, based on your requirement, you can choose either of these options. Okay. Now, another different flavor under the cascading approval is the authority matrix. Now, authority matrix is a really vast a topic, I would say, and there is a need, if you want to understand it thoroughly, so definitely it has to be done with the help of a use case. But at a very, very high level, what it does is in authority matrix, right, you basically have a decision table. That decision table will return more than one response based on a certain logic, and then you have a page list property that will hold that response, and then you have an approver property. So once you configure all these three, right, so then this particular case will be routed to more than one users sequentially for approval. Okay, so I will try to cover this cascading approval separately. Practically, for theory, I think this is more than enough, to understand how the different type of approvals work in Pega. Okay, now let's jump to the practical aspect of it. Okay, so what I would do is let's select the approval type as single level, and let's select a specific user. I think I already have created an operator ID, which is HR@PS. So I have this operator ID to whom I want to route this particular recruitment case. And I have also created a access group specifically for this particular user, like the HR user will have access to this particular access group. Okay, so let's use this and let's try to configure and see if it works. Okay, so the username is this. And here, let's give application. Okay. Once we do this, and then once we hit the save button, so ideally, what should happen is when we create the case, right? When we fill in the details and when we select domain and when we select a job, once we hit submit. Okay, so at this point, you see this case has been routed to the next stage. Now, since the operator that I'm using to create or run the case type, right, it's an admin operator. So that's why you see the go button over here. But ideally, you should enable or you should set up the access in such a way that if a case is routed to a different party, right, a different work party, so only the member to whom this case is assigned, that person should be able to work on this case. So this is something which wherein the security features come into picture. So that would also be covered as part of later sessions. But for now, if I need to double check and if I need to be sure that, okay, this particular case has been routed to the work list of the operator, right, HR@PS, then how do we do that? So for that, let's come to the App Explorer. Let's try to, search with this class, which is assign-work list. And then if you try to see the instances, right? So what's my case ID? It is R-13005. So which is the first one. Okay. R-13005. Okay. So if you see this, the flow name is PY Cascading Get Approval. The create operator is training@PS. And what is this operator ID? This is the assigned operator ID, right? So here we can see very clearly that this particular case is in the work list of the user HR@PS and the assignment is get approval. Okay, so now let's try to log in with this particular operator HR@PS in a new session and let's try to see where is this case. Okay, let me quickly take this URL. Let's try to log in with HR@PS operator. So I have given this particular only user portal access. So if you see, right, this is the work list of this user and what is the case number? It is R13005. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so that means this case has been routed successfully to the user HR@PS and it is sitting in the work list of this user. So this user can basically, approve or reject this particular case. So I haven't customized the UI of the approval screen. But if if you have a requirement wherein you want to customize this particular screen and, you want to give some additional view or additional fields for the approver to see that, okay, what details were entered by the user earlier. And then based on that, he can approve or reject. So that is also doable. Okay, this screen is completely customizable. And you can add n number of fields or n number of views that you want inside the screen. Okay, so that is how I think this was a basic understanding of how the approve or reject SmartShape works in Pega. I hope this session was useful. I hope you guys will have a clear understanding of how to do approvals in Pega. Stay tuned. I'll be trying to cover, the cascading approval as a separate topic right after this. Okay, I hope you guys are enjoying it. And thank you so much for, spending your time and listening to my sessions. Have a nice day. Bye.